So, this is the 1219 solo queue tier list specifically for below diamond, because that's what the majority of people are. And below diamond is what I would consider like low-ish ELO. So I'm gonna lump a lot of this together from like, I'd say this is pretty reliable silver through plat. Is fine. He goes A, and the reason he's gonna go, no, he's gonna go B. And the reason he goes B is he's got a decent, like, pretty brainless clear, good CC, good team fighting, but he just doesn't excel at anything really. He's a great team fighter, but there's lots of other champions on this list who are better team fighters. No, don't do that. Don't do that either. Echo again, his clear is not great. His ganking is okay. He doesn't scale well. He's gonna go C. Elise, I think, can get definitely an A. She has a good early presence. She's only A if you do the right build, though. If you press the attack. And Lichbane, so your core, that's what makes her really good with the auto attack reset, plus her Q. Applies press the attack and Lichbane. Evelyn, it's again an A tier champion. Super exploitable in the early game. Her early pressure is really, really weak. She does scale really well, and she does thrive off of the chaos of low elo. Fiddlesticks. Fiddlesticks is definitely S tier. He is super exploitable early game, but like the impact he can have even when behind on mid to late game team fights is just absurd with how much damage that champion does even when behind, as well as the utility he provides. I want to put Graves in Giga Broke and spam them, but the problem is if you don't know how to play Graves, he's definitely not Giga Broken. He's always going to be strong. He's very flexible. Like, for if it was high low, he would be here 100%, but it's low elo, so we're going to put him here. But like, there's so many ways you play Graves. There's the heavy lethality setup with the Eclipse and the Collector into Lord Dom's. Heavy armor pen, very heavy on the burst damage side of things. There's like there's crit Graves, which you can do, which is a lot more standard. Gale Force Collector, Lord Dom's, Bloodthirster, Infinity Edge, whatever. There's like the super melee heavy Graves, where you go Ghost and you just go like Gore Drinker, Maw, Cleaver, and just like run at people, which is really good into melee heavy team comps. There's like the hybrid one where you can go like Gale Force Collector, Maw into like +1. And you basically just have an absurd amount of burst damage. He's really flexible, really good with Red Smite. If you put the time in, really, really good champion. Like if you put the time in, he's Giga Broken, but until you do, he's just S tier. Hecarim, again, he's Giga Broken, but in low elo, I feel like the games are decided so fast, and Hecarim's early game after the changes are just like super weak. They're just super weak, but in low elo, I genuinely think you can get away with being exploitable, like in the super low tiers, like silver, gold, bronze. This is definitely a really good pick, because once he gets like 3 items, he will run over the whole game, and there's nothing anyone can do about it, especially if you have an enchanter like a Lulu or a Yuumi or anything like that. Don't do it. Ivern's not worth it. Jarvan, he's gonna be super reliable champion, always gonna be good. Great for farming KDA. He's got good engage, he's got good damage, he's decently tanky. He's a solid B. Jax, just don't. Karthus, like for low elo, he's just C tier or just don't, because I think this champion can be really successful. I play a lot of this champion, and I think I have like 100 games with like a 70% win rate or something in Karthus jungle, but just don't. the skill cap it takes just to utilize his clear, not to mention alone, like duel and skirmish properly, is way too high for a lot of people to put the time into reliably. So just don't play him. Kayn, Giga Broken. Same thing as like it's like Hecarim. He like scales almost as well as Hecarim with Red Kayn, except his early game is way better. Kha'Zix, definitely S tier, super exploitable, high amount of damage, super flexible with the Bruiser build or the first Strike Assassin build, the Conqueror with Gourd Drinker, Conqueror with Eclipse. Kindred, super similar build to Karthus, super high skill cap, but it's just not worth it because there's champions that kind of does what she does better until like the hyper late game, which is when she excels. I think we're a solid B. Viego, definitely still S tier. Viego is one of those champions that can always win a game, no matter what, because of how his possession functions. Low elo, Lee Sin, don't. He's not even like remotely good, even after the buffs. He clears too slow, his damage is too situational, and a lot of the other like S tier junglers just like surpass him come like level 8. And then you feel like the only option you have is insecking, which is really unreliable, especially if you're low elo. Lilia, I definitely think in low elo she's S tier. She's got a crazy amount of damage output. She can be very tanky with the right itemization and rune choice. The utility she provides is really good with her sleep. She's also just the super, especially with like the more tanky build, is just unbelievably disruptive to a backline. And she can kill a backline pretty much by herself if you do it properly. Yeah, Malphite, don't do it. Yi, low elo, even in low elo, I want to put him S tier, but after the nerfs on 12-19, I think I'm gonna put him A tier, especially because like there's so much stuff in the game that can just absolutely giga kick him. Like I think situationally in certain games he's just here, right? Like if they have super low CC or like nothing that's gonna stop you in there, but like as an average placement, I'd put him in the A tier after the nerfs. Nasus, don't play Nasus jungle. Nidalee, don't even try. This champion, there's so many champions that do exactly what Nidalee does, but does it so much better with so much less skill required. Like there is zero reason for you to play Nidalee unless you're like Jesus on that champion. It's just not necessary. Nocturne, low elo Giga Spam. He's absolutely broken. He's got a ridiculously fast clear speed that takes zero brain to pull off. His level 6 is super powerful. He scales really well. Once you hit like level 6 with lethal tempo, he really has no weak points in the game after that. He scales really well. He's super disruptive, has a lot of damage, can be very tanky with the Stridebreaker Death Dance build. He's just a very good champion. Nunu, low elo, he's always going to be like A tier. He's just Nunu, rolls in, does his thing, that's it. Olaf. Olaf is definitely not S tier, but I can't put him in the same tier as like a Mimojarvin. But yeah, Olaf is definitely A tier. There's situations where he's really good, but the thing is like into a lot of meta comps right now, especially with the way the AD carry and the top lane is structured, and then support, you playing Olaf without an enchanter is just kind of like you become giga useless unless you're super far ahead. Like you put Olaf with like a Lulu or even a Yuumi. In the mid game, he becomes literally an unstoppable monstrosity, and with the Yuumi, he will still, or the Yuumi Lulu or whatever, he'll still scale into the late game. But without them, in the jungle, because it's really awkward to try and go Trinity Force in the jungle, you can go Sunderer, but most of the time you're just going to be defaulting to Gourd Drinker or Stridebreaker. Without the Sheen proc, like without the Sunderer and Trinity Force, which are much better scaling items as a whole, it's gonna feel really bad. And that's the thing, even within the jungle, with the Yuumi or the Lulu, you can go for the Gourd Drinker, and it's gonna feel way less awful scaling. So he's like a situational. Like situationally, he's definitely S tier, but like as a default, he's A tier. Pantheon, his clear speed is not great. He doesn't fall off anymore. Like he's still Pantheon. Can be a very disruptive like tank bruiser thing, but like again, there's just champions. Like I would rather play like Jarvan over Pantheon because Jarvan's way tankier, less early game damage, but like Jarvan is just as a whole, he's gonna be more serviceable for the whole game. And Pantheon's engage is like super unreliable. Like if you go too far, like if you ult a team and the enemy team walks forward shoving a wave and you ult behind them, you're just like so unbelievably dead. Whereas like Jarvan with Stoneplate and Core Drinker is always going to be able to just like R into the face of the enemy team and not give a fuck. Jarvan can also build really flexibly. Like he can go Zhonya's if he wants to, because it just doesn't matter. The champion's always going to have value. Qiyana, definitely B tier, I think. Like, she's got a really bad clear speed. The only way this champion works within the jungle is if you just, like, do your red-blue Gromp, like, on spawn and get Scuttle Crabs and just gank like a madman and pray to god that the enemy is dumb enough to give you kills and allow you to snowball the game, but it's not super reliable. Rammus, he's definitely A tier. There's games where he's, like, up here. I actually want to put him here because some of the AD carries in the game right now, like it either forces them to take cleanse or you fucking one-shot them by yourself. They like one-shot themselves by hitting you at like 2.5 items. Like it doesn't matter what they build. The only one that's like minorly problematic is Vayne. But even then, like she carries so much attack speed and usually doesn't have a lot of lifesteal that she will just like kill herself on you, pretty much trying to kill you. Do I want to put Rammus here in low elo? For like the bottom of low elo, definitely he's like Giga Broken, spam this. No one's gonna punish you early game. Rengar. Rengar is another one of those champions, super high skill cap. But even when you're like master him, he's not even the most rewarding thing in the world. Like Kha'Zix is kind of just a better Rengar right now. It has been for quite some time. Like Blue Cane pivot better than Rengar. Nocturne as a bruiser is gonna be better than Rengar. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. We'll put him B tier. I think he's pretty comparable to like. He's like Qiyana in the sense that like if the enemy team fucks up and you get super far ahead, then you can carry the game. But like without the enemy making a bunch of mistakes and giving you a bunch of free gold, you're never gonna do the same thing that Kha'Zix or Nocturne or Kayn does. Set is not a jungler on this patch. Shaco again is like whether you're playing AD or AP, kind of relies on the enemy making a bunch of mistakes. AP Shaco is not great for solo carrying games. He's super disruptive, super annoying, but he's not gonna just like carry a team fight by killing their carries. Shyvana in low elo is still Giga Broken after the change. Like all they did was change, like they nerfed her AP ratios a little bit, but they changed their bonus AD ratio, which means the Frostfire like Titanic shit is even better now, and you can still go demonic. Because they nerfed her on hit like attack speed shit, but like their AP and AD ratios both went up. So like the Frostfire Demonic Titanic Warmogs shit is so brain dead with PTA and Ghost. You just run at everybody and just absolutely mold them. Don't play Skarner. Just don't do it. Silas, don't play that either. Talia, don't play that. Trundle. Trundle's funny, right? Because he's after the nerfs to his attack speed, his clear speed is definitely a little nerfed. He's still a decent blind in this meta because like look at a lot of these meta junglers, like these Giga Brokens and these S tiers. Like he's good into Graves early. He shits on Hecarim, shits on Kayn. He's comparable to Nocturne, shits on Rammus, shits on Shyvana, shits on Viego early. Like even like the other A tiers, like Olaf, he's like he dunks on this guy early, dunks on this early. Like all of the junglers, like so many of the junglers in the top tier, like Trundle's not good. Like as a champion, like if you just look at the champion individually, he's not a good champion. The reason that he is still playable and like floats between these three tiers is literally just jungle matchup. Like he's Jesus. into like matchups like the Hecarim and the Olaf and the Shyvana, he's unbelievably so good. But into things like Lilia or Fiddlesticks or Graves even, because like a good Graves will dunk on it, will like not never die to Trundle's early pressure. He's not great. He just floats. He floats around. I'm gonna put him in S tier just because of how good he is and so many of the meta junglers. Yeah, I'll put him S tier. Don't play Trinity jungle. Don't play Twitch jungle. Udyr. So my issue with Udyr right now is I think he's A tier. Could be S tier, but the issue with Udyr is that his jungle build feels really inflexible. Like it feels like you can't go Qmax within the jungle because the clear speed is too slow, which is really unfortunate because I think the Qmax is the way to go on top lane Udyr right now. Like it does so much damage with just like Trinity Force. If you don't even need to go like actual assassin items, and you can one-shot things with the Q empowered. So I want to put him in S tier, but I think the inflexibility of the Qmax AD Udyr makes me not want to do it. So we'll leave him in the A tier. Volibear, that is another A tier champion. He is serviceable, can gank well, can tank well, dives well. He's just a solid champ. Warwick, low elo, always going to be solid, A tier. Super safe player. Not horrendous clear speed, but it's not excellent. His team fighting is decent. You can peel really well, or if you get far ahead somehow, you can dive their backline and just absolutely maul their AD carry, or their mages or whatever. Wukong, it's another A tier. Solid clear speed, solid early skirmishing, solid team fighting, just not on the same level as a lot of these top champions. Xin Zhao is kind of just, he exists. He's definitely in B tier. It's kind of same category as Jarvan. Like, he's always going to do what he was designed to do. Zac. So Zac is, I actually think Zac is sleeper. Like, I think he's S tier. Like, unironically, he clears really well. He a lot of like the super popular junglers, like the Graves, Hecarim. These guys can't pressure him off early, especially if you're taking Conqueror. He's really good at disrupting team fights. So when you have these champions like Hecarim, like Rammus, like Nocturne, like Shyvana, who just want to permadive the backline, Zac is going to is going to dive onto the rest. You can either dive onto and peel, or he can dive the rest of their team and disrupt them. And then I'm sorry, like if you look at like say example of Hecarim engages, Zac hits a counter engage. Zac is gonna live way longer into 4 people than a Hecarim is. Like he's so tanky, he has so much CC. Like this guy is just a big ball of insanity. Vi. So Vi is disgusting. This champion is just for clarity purposes. This champion in low elo solo queue, not only does she have a lot of flexible build paths, she can go Hail of Blades, she can go Conqueror, she can go Conqueror with Eclipse, she can go Conqueror with Sunder, she can go Hail with Eclipse or Hail with Sunder. All have varying different playstyles, but she has super high early damage with Halo Blades that scales really well with the Eclipse. Even Sunder Halo Blades does a lot of damage. Like Sunder with Hail into like Sunder or Cleaver, you have a Saint Burst. Like you can go the Eclipse into Cleaver, you can go the Eclipse into Collector if you're going for that build. Like this champion just has so much raw damage output combined with point and click CC is just, it's always like until they nerf her numbers, she is going to be something that you can like reliably blind pick, because the only like thing that you really have to be afraid of in the early is like you can't duel Trundle early and you can't duel Nocturne early. Everything else in the top of this list, she does not fucking care. She will beat your ass early game, right? And even like into champions like Rammus and Shyvana with the Divine Sunder or Cleaver build, she will shred you later on. with her W and Cleaver and Sunder. Fiddle is definitely scarier for her later in team fights. So is Lilia. She gets kind of kited or like just out impacted by those two in like some situations, but I think she is one of the best things in the jungle right now. Like in terms of like blind pick and like overall value, this champion is fucking absurd. And I didn't have it on this list, but Rek'Sai goes here, like at the bottom of S, like bottom of S, top of A, because she's got insane early pressure. But unfortunately, unless you get super far ahead, she does fall off and become a little sketchy. But anyway, that's it.